Yeah, outside.
No, I don't mind. But anyway, guys, thanks for coming on again. This is the third installment of Roll Ready. I created this, and it's the beginning stages. So this is the third call, but I created it as an alternate outlet for newer jujitsu practitioners to get some questions answered, any lingering questions that you had by some people that have been doing it for a long time. I've been doing it for 18 years. I've been doing jujitsu. Brendan, I don't know how long you've been doing it, but he's a brown belt. He's been doing it for quite some time, and I have Brendan Berry here to basically we wanted to talk about the topic of leg locks today. He's known, especially through the Midwest, for his leg lock attacks. Very sharp. I actually competed against him, and he caught me in a heel hook. So anyway, Brennan, thank you for coming on to this and doing this for me. And so basically, my question for you is like, when you got started, like, did you start off with leg locks like right off the bat, or did you start with the fundamentals, like what everyone suggests, like focus on your escapes, focus on passing, guard passing, and things like that, or did you just jump headfirst into leg locks?
Yeah. So first, thanks for having me, Adam. And so I started at 10th Planet School out in Illinois, 10th Planet Lombard. I was under Omar Ocasio, who's directly under Eddie Bravo. And as you get more into jujitsu, you start to learn that certain schools will have their specific traits, and 10th Planet leg locks is a big piece of that. So my first class, actually, we were going over the 10th Planet warm-ups, and I learned how to do a heel hook the first day. I went live with at the end of the class, and also, mind you, I went into jujitsu as my first day, but I had 6 years of wrestling experience as well. So I had the basics of how to use my hips and when I'm in danger and understanding top pressure. So that kind of skipped certain fundamentals for me to where I could start researching and kind of diving into the more nuanced attacks of leg locks and leg defenses. But like I've always been interested in them. And the first attack that I threw on my instructor because he was letting me play, I went to hit a calf slicer from the back. And I will never forget him looking at one of the other instructors and says, "Oh, this dude thinks he knows what he's doing," and he turned around and put the hurt on me. So I jumped into leg locks really fast. Not saying that that is the right way to go. It worked for me with my background that I had in wrestling. That I'm a very wrestle first, top heavy pressure player, but then I want to utilize my leg locks and attack both halves of the body.
Nice. Okay, so you realize that first day that, like, I mean, they're effective, but you can't necessarily utilize those certain techniques, and it kind of gives your training partners a bad taste in your mouth if you're a beginner.
So it didn't give them a bad taste. I think I think it almost did the opposite. Part of it, like with everything else that went into my relationship with them, like if I went in there and I just tried heel hooking everybody and I walked off and I shoved him and I said, "F you guys, I'm better than you," then everyone would have thought I was a douche. But being able to, and like humbling myself and like asking, "Hey dude, how did you do that?" and putting myself almost below them and almost looking for the guidance. And then I also showing like, "Hey, I want to compete. I want to be a staple at this gym. I want to be a staple in this community." I think it almost did like the opposite. Like when you show that respect, the respect is given, and that I will say most people, especially if you're in a good place, they'll put you under their wing and will bring you along with you.
Nice. Yeah, I agree with that. So, like, I mean, I know we have a few blue belts in here, but we have white belts too. Why don't we just break down like the difference is like in the training room, you can do all these moves. Obviously, he was doing heel hooks on his first day, but when it comes to competition, Nicole, you were saying you were about to hop in. You can't be throwing up heel hooks in your competitions. So, like, do you? Well, I could ask you directly, but do you know like the rule set, what you can and can't do as a white belt hopping into your first competition, leg lock wise?
No, that's on like my list of things to work on.
Okay, cool. So yeah, let's break that down a little bit. We were kind of talking about this a little while ago, and I think like every tournament's different, but typically as a white belt, you're gonna be able to only do straight ankle locks. And I think it would be a good idea to break that down a little bit, some offense and defense of a straight ankle lock, because one, Brendan has some unique details of it that I've never seen, and I think that'll help you out. And I always kind of dug my heels in the sand on the leg lock game for a long time because I focused on escapes and I'm a pressure oriented jujitsu guy. So I was always focused on the defense of it, and I figured, well, if I can defend out of it, I'll eventually learn the offense. So we'll both be able to give you some tips on defense. But I would say, as a white belt, generally you're going to be able to only do straight ankle locks in tournaments. As a blue belt, you can probably do some knee bars. You can probably do some toe holds. So
I think you can cap slicer as well.
in a cap slicer.
Again, depending on the tournament. What's that?
Want to show them?
Yeah.
Showing cap slicer.
Well, let's start off, if you don't mind, Brendan, with just your straight ankle lock. I actually like the detail, your ratchet strap detail, where you tighten it up. You showed it to me before, so let's go through that if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Actually,
What's up?
maybe we should rewind a little bit and talk about how you even get into these positions, you know?
Sure.
Like, yeah, let's do a little rewind, because I mean, you can grab an ankle anytime, but what do you think is the best way to get to a straight ankle lock?
So I think starting off, like the series we've been working is the shin to shin connection. And it's a bit more advanced. I have a route, and this is where you'll see most people getting into leg locks start diving in on those straight ankles or getting to the ashi position. And so he's in Z guard. Some people would call it like half guard with a knee shield. I like to simplify things in that, again, 10 planet names, that's where I learned all my stuff from. This is called D guard because his body's in the shape of a Z, right? We have K guard because his body's in the shape of a K. We have butterfly hooks, butterfly guards. If you flare your legs out, looks like butterfly wings. Jiu-jitsu for the most part is, at least describing, is extremely simple and stupid, and that's why we often love it and will gravitate to it. But this is a really easy way for me to enter in on the straight ankle. All I'm going to do is I am going to threaten my top pass, right? I can start weaving my hand in between. I can start pressuring. If he's got a strong knee shield and I haven't been able to collapse it, what I'm going to do is this hand goes from a punch to a scoop. I'm going to insert this knee in between his leg, and I'm going to throw the top, rotate. I'm going to throw this top leg over, right? And I'm going to hug it tight, so I'm in a good ashi grounding position. I'll show this position from a standing so we can see how this looks. All that I'm doing is, you can't see right now, my back foot is hooking his back thigh. I want to make sure that this knee is covering this heel, this top side heel, and I'm coming over top and I'm pinning this to his hip. I'm pinching my knees together. All right. We can look here if we want to talk about heel hooks. I can start hunting the heel, but I can also punch my arm through and start hunting for the straight ankle. So let's change so we can seat position. So getting into the finishing aspects of the straight ankle, again, looking from this Z-guard position. This is, we need to realize that this is giving up technically a dominant position. If we're doing jiu-jitsu for self-defense purposes for MMA, I would not recommend this, right? Because I'm on top, I can do damage, and I'm safe. I can always exit the situation also if needed. I'm on top, I'm doing better. For sport jiu-jitsu, this makes sense though. All we're gonna do, punch his arm through, lift, I insert my knee, and now you can see how this foot hooks onto his back thigh. This top leg jumps over. And what I'll often do is I'll fight back to this top side. All right, and now we can see how we're gonna finish this straight ankle. Let's go back just a little bit more. There. So when we get into this Ashi position, I really need to make sure that this knee is covering this heel. And the reason for that is his first objective to escape is to strip this top heel. He's gonna strip it and then he's gonna jump his hips over. All right. So he comes back. The more I can cover my foot with my heel, it's the less space, it gives him less space to grab onto, right? My big toe is being exposed right now. So he's gonna have to grab onto that or create space to then push off. So I'm securing my position better than if I was out here. Does that make sense? Are there any questions about this? All right. So for the finish, to attack the straight ankle, I want to be applying pressure. Should look at just the foot. I'm looking to bend his foot straight back, hence the straight ankle. All right, remember what I said about the names of jiu-jitsu. Makes it pretty simple. I want to have the toes in my armpit or just past. Depending on where the grip lands, it's going to either hit the damage either going to be at the top of the foot or to the Achilles. Both are extremely effective. It seems to be an anatomy thing that causes people to start attack stray one side or the other, and that it will when I do straight ankles, it tends to be an Achilles lock versus a on top of the foot. Again, both are effective. The one thing that we want to make sure we're doing is we want to attack at the lower end of the lever. The higher up we go, we're not going to be doing damage. You may, if I throw up on a straight ankle and I'm all the way down here, I may get this on a new white belt because this is what we would call like a pain compliance attack, right? It can hurt. I can apply pressure to the back of their calf, and if they have tight calves, it's going to hurt more, but it's not actually going to break anything. And I know it sounds violent and mean to say, but like the end objective of this game is to either choke someone or either choke someone or do damage to a ligament, bend it the wrong way. So when I attack this straight ankle, I want to make sure I'm punching through and I'm attacking at the end of the lever. Something also, if I want to break something, I want to make it, I want to have an opposing force and create a perpendicular alignment with my forearm and his ankle, right? So right now you see that I have not perpendicular. So what I'm going to do is we call it a teacup grip. So I'm going to grab the bottom, the meat of my pinky. You'll see different grips on straight ankles. This has always been my go-to. It's been comfortable, it's successful, and I can transition my heel hooks quickly if I need to. But so I'm going to punch through, and then to help get to that perpendicular alignment, I'm going to drop my shoulder to where my elbow is. I'm going to punch it through. I want to make sure that the blade of my forearm is cutting into his Achilles. When I get here, I'm going to start rocking my body back. And this is that feature that he was talking about, the ratchet. So I'm going to rock my body up
and backwards.
And it's already getting tighter. It's wrapped twice, so I'm ready to tap.
All right, and so what that does is we're stretching his leg out as far as it can go before I even apply my braking pressure. So when I'm looking at my submissions, I want my position to set myself up that when I apply pressure, that brake is happening. Or they would have to have a quick tap, which is the ideal situation, that they will tap, you guys shake hands, walk off. But I don't want to have to sit here with a straight leg and then I'm wrenching on it as hard as he can and he's applying his defenses and then I lose my position and the opportunity for that submission. So again, I keep everything tight. I drive my shoulder to where my elbow is, creating a knee bend. And then I'm gonna rock my hips back. And then once you saw my rocks were getting smaller and smaller, I feel that tension. I'm gonna pull my hand high and drive my hips through. I get the tap there. With guys like Adam, when he has these really long legs, I need to hop, and that's also helping me get to the end of the lever. If I were to just grab the end of his foot here, and I can't control his hips with my legs, and then have space to apply enough pressure, my hips far enough back to then drive through. I have to extend my hips here, which isn't going to be a good braking angle. All right, so if I can keep my hips in tight, right, you can see how far his foot is through the end. Get my shoulder down. As I rock, I'm climbing the end of that lever. And I press my feet into him to push his body away. I'm driving my hips through and pulling my hand high. That's my variation of the straight ankle. You'll see different variations. They work, right? This is how I was taught. This is my tried and true version. But that's not to say that the other styles don't work. Different grip variations are the big thing. And I think the rock is something unique that I do, my students do, that we have a lot of success with.
Okay. Yeah, it's nasty. Usually people just grab an ankle and just try to like take it home, and a lot of times, yeah, it's like if you put the boot on, and that's like one preliminary defense that you can do. You can kind of tough your way through it, but that, like, we call it a ratchet strap or like a teeter-totter motion that he was doing. It's pretty hard to defend. It comes on really quick. So real quick, if anyone does have any questions about the detail of that straight ankle lock, you can go ahead and come off mute and ask. And by the way, just so you, I'll just say it again, you can always put your questions in the chat, or the best way to do it is just click the reactions button on your Zoom menu and raise your hand. That way we can see from here that you have a question. We'll call on you. So if nobody has any questions on that, why don't we talk about a quick defense right there? Just we can just go off of that. I would say one is just put the boot on immediately anytime someone grabs your ankle, right?
Yeah, I would say we're immediately, it depends on the leg lock position we're in. If I'm in the ashi position that we just covered, or how we call it, double outside ashi, which is right, we're ashi, double outside ashi. Pretty clear, or you'll hear it referred to DOA because double outside ashi is a mouthful. These two positions, I'd be putting the boot on right away because I am prone to a straight ankle lock.
Which just means that, like, I'm dorsiflexing, I'm pulling my toes up to my knees.
And when he does that, it makes it a lot, again, the objective to get the break is to bend that foot straight back. All right, I need to extend it all the way through. So as soon as he puts that boot on, all right, it stops me from being able to, so if he puts the boot on here, it stops me from even being able to get my shoulder to the mat to start getting my ratchet going. And I'd have to adjust my attack in order to shut that boot down.
Brendan, I guess grab my foot. I'll give you guys my take on like what I'd suggest for you guys to do, for a defense to escape out of something like this, and if, you have any ideas, something else that I didn't cover, go ahead, but, Brendan was saying off the start, I mean, we already talked about the boot, so always just put the boot on. Okay, secondly, you need to start scraping this foot down. Okay, and, as soon as I can, I'm looking to hop my body on top of that first, and then over top of it, and think about it like this, if we're a clock and Brendan's head is at 12 and I'm at 6, I'm trying to put my entire body at like 10 o'clock, like I don't know, like 9 to 11 o'clock somewhere. Okay, I need to literally launch myself over here, and now I'm free to use my free leg to clear my foot, and I'm free. And it's pretty straightforward. It's as simple as that for me. That to me is the quickest way to escape out of this single ashi position. So as soon as someone grabs my foot anytime, putting the boot on, slamming that foot to the mat and launching myself. Use this foot, get your hips off the ground, and hop yourself over to like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and get your foot on their chest. Use that as a wedge to free your other foot. Okay, I've done millions of rolls, and that's like the quickest way I found to just get my foot free and be safe. Do you have anything else right there?
Yeah, one small addition I'd make to that is, excuse me, when he strips my leg, what we're gonna do actually is, I'll do this, is I bring that secondary hand over and I peel this leg up. All right, so when I do this, if he were to not do that, let's say this, so go back, right? I keep everything tight, and he goes to make his jump. I'm gonna, and he strips it, sorry. I'm gonna drive over and try and go with a belly down straight ankle. So even if he jumped my hips, so go back, so jump my hips, I can start coming over and hunting my straight here. So if he keeps my knee open, so if he strips and he doesn't have to be a crazy strong grip, he just needs to do enough for me to stop my hips from climbing over, which he's gonna win that battle 9 times out of 10. All right, and now he gets into his jump, and now he can bring that foot in and attack, or completely escape.
Do you have, I actually would like to know what your idea of escaping a DOA is, which is the double ashi.
Yeah, so
Let's say.
so double outside ashi is a pretty, you'll actually see not a lot of people doing this position because it gives up, the best route out is taking the back. So if he were to go on your side, as soon as I'm putting the boot on, I have the ability to climb and I can stack in here. If I get some form of grip, scoot back a little bit. So I can climb, and if he's going for a straight, it makes it a bit different, but I can tie up his hands or get this this collar grip, or a head and arm, and it prevents him from driving his hips in. So as soon as I come in here, it shuts down this ability for him to drive his hips through and extend his back. So what I would do from here is, once I get here, I'm looking to stack and pull my leg out and eventually start looking to take the back. It's even better if people are starting to hunt heel hooks there. So a little tangent, but he's looking to hunt a heel hook. All I need to do is slip my knee line. Look, I'm already on his back. because you have to get to that shoulder to apply the straight ankle or the back or the heel hook, it exposes a lot of angle towards the back. All right, so what I would do also, so I can either climb, go back into straight, or I can tie his hands up, start pressing on his legs to slip my knee line and clear my ankle, and then I can come up and start taking it back. So going back to my original instructor, Omar, he really loves the double outside Ashi position. And in my first super fight, I finished with a outside heel hook. But the guy almost took my back off of it, and I had to regather and get the finish. But that was the first time I was in the position of like, oh man, he actually knows what he's doing as far as leg lock. We were purple belts at the time. And he was pretty seasoned, or at least he was hunting the back hard enough that he put me in danger, and I was able to regather and eventually get the finish. But my coach commented on it. He's like, man, you're looking like me out there. And I was like, not really. Time was lost to this guy that I should not have lost to. So that's how I escaped the DOA, and also why I modified how I do my DOA position.
Cool.
One of the questions is, could you show entries into the DOA?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So the question is, Matthew's wondering if we could show some entries into the DOA, which is double outside Ashi. So let's go over that.
Yeah, so DOA, I'll go there when so it will be off of my Ashi position. If I can't get a clean sweep, I'll shoot my leg over. Or when I'm on the ground in Ashi, I just step my leg over. So to give a bad answer, if we go into Ashi,
Just before we get started, is this a perfectly legal position for a white belt in a competition?
yes, so this is a legal position, but the submissions you can hit is what's gonna change that answer. Like, as a white belt, you can't do a heel hook from Ashi or double outside Ashi. You can straight ankle all day long. The one thing about Ashi, and then Matt, we'll get to that question, is the concept of reaping, which I think is a very dumb rule. But it's if this leg starts coming over their hip line. So if we were standing up, actually, and I get into my square up, and I get into the Ashi position. If this foot starts tracking over, it's adding an external pressure to their knee, and this is what's considered a reap, and you're gonna get warned and then eventually disqualified if you keep doing it. Especially at white belt. Yeah, definitely at white belt. I don't think at blue belt, depending on the organization. IBJJF might still warn you about that.
It's very subtle though. I've seen people get disqualified. Show what's legal. This is legal.
Yep.
This is illegal.
Yep. So, and it's also a tougher thing is the longer your legs are, the easier it's gonna track over for this. One of my students almost got disqualified last weekend or 2 weekends ago, because he's 6'5", and he was going against someone who is maybe 5'10". So his leg just wrapped all the way around. He had no intention of reaping, but just the length of his leg wrapped all the way over. So it's something to be mindful of, and be careful. Just make sure we're in a good Ashi position. I'm driving my hips out, and this knee's coming over. But so to get to double outside Ashi, when I don't want you to hit your head on the wall. What I'm gonna do is I'll be up in my Ashi position. His counter to this is gonna be the same counter as if we were on the ground. He's gonna strip this top leg. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull this leg that was my butterfly hook, and I'm actually gonna shoot this through while I scoop scoop his leg. I'm gonna shoot it through, and I'm gonna try and make my hips connect with his hips. Sorry.
So again,
As we break the host. Alright, and now we're in our double outside ashi position. The bad answer was if I'm starting double outside ashi and he's doing a really job defending his leg, I can just always step to here. I tend to always fall here because I'm looking to hit my heel hooks. And I have a better breaking mechanics from this double outside ashi position than I do from ashi. Matthew, does that help? Those are kind of my go-to entries into it, or I catch them often in scrambles.
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you.
Awesome, of course.
So I guess like, if we got some entries, maybe we should talk about some like fundamental drills that everybody should be practicing to get into these positions. I know one offhand is just being able to just go back and forth in between the ashi standing. Most people know that, but we should definitely go over it. If you have any others, definitely show them.
Yep, for sure. So this is a common drill I make my guys do. So we're gonna start in that exact position we were just at. And just to make sure we're clear on what ashi is, again, we showed it from seated, but when my partner is standing, it's a lot more clear. So I'm going to shoot my hips up in the air for the drill, have your partner stand with their legs up into your armpits. It's gonna make it easier for you to do this properly. The farther down I go, the more I'm just gonna be using my legs and I can't really cut the angle to it. So make sure they're all the way up in your armpits. I'm gonna grab the back of his calves. And then I want to jump my hips up with one leg coming to the outside and one leg coming in between. I want to be up on my shoulder blades when I'm doing this and not just curling at my waist. So I'm going to shoot up. All right, just like I'm throwing a triangle. This leg comes around into the hip. This knee that's coming in between in the middle is going to come up to that heel. And then can you pivot for me? Just spin all the way around. You can see that his back foot is hooking on his back hip. All right. And so the drill, we can go back to. So the drill is just going to be going back and forth from ashi on this side, I drop, back up. All right. So I'm just going back and forth. When we do this, I normally in my classes I'll do it for time. I'll put 2 minutes on the clock. That way, if someone doesn't know what ashi is, we can work with them. And then our guys that do know what's going on, they get as many reps as possible. And I always preach, I want quality over quantity. So if you get 10 perfect reps, you did a better job than the guy who did 50 bad reps. And it's tiring. It's a great core exercise, and it gets you comfortable with shooting your hips up off of that.
I'd say one detail, make sure you didn't miss is the foot on the opposite side hip, because once you start going against more skilled people and you're trying to set people down into this ashi position from standing, some people have really good balance, and with him having that foot on my opposite side hip, it's harder for me to step back. So can we just demonstrate for this position from facing this way so they can see where your feet are? So if Brendan goes for this ashi, and he's got this foot on my opposite side hip. A lot of people are lazy with this and think that they just have to pinch everything right here. But when he actually starts to like set me down, go ahead, just like I'm free with this leg. I can step back pretty much anywhere I want. As soon as he starts to lock in this hip, and then he goes to set me down, I can't quite balance nearly as well. So just make that note. That was a big detail for me when I started doing this. I think that kind of puts us like right into that position. Maybe we should talk about like how you sit someone down from standing.
I actually have one more drill. that'd be
Okay.
good. So we're gonna have our partner sit down. This is gonna be good for both of you guys. So we're gonna get into the Ashi position. So he's gonna work his escape. So he's going to strip and jump. And then all I'm gonna do is my leg that was in between the hooking his thigh is gonna hook at his hooking his back thigh. It's gonna maintain that hook. I grab his ankle and I'll demonstrate it on this side as well. But then I'm just gonna switch. This shoots through. And I go to Ashi on this side. All right, so then he's gonna jump back. I hook, scoop, my knee shoots through, coming around the hip, and then I place my knee where it needs to go, inserting that hook on his thigh again. All right, so one more time, he strips, goes, I hook, back into Ashi, and you can see my foot digs back under, putting my knee in the correct position, putting my foot on his back thigh again. All right, so that's a good drill for both partners, offensive and defensive. So we get into this exchange, it's now muscle memory to put the boot on, jump your hips over, and work your escape.
Is Ashi the same as single leg X is the question.
Yeah, we missed Bryce's.
No, I will. I'll go back to it.
Yeah, we got a question here. It says, is Ashi the same as single leg X?
I think so.
Yes.
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 Sorry. Yes. Yes, it is. Again, downside, certain gyms call it certain things. We've never referred to it as single leg X in our gym. But yes, it is the same. And you'll run into that the more you're in jiu-jitsu, with one person calling it one thing, and with any positions. If you start hanging out with wrestlers, their crucifix is different than ours. Their twister is different than ours. And then you'll have these kind of funny conversations of thinking you're talking about the same thing and you're either not, or you're arguing about the same exact thing. So sorry, but yes, it is.
Is DOA not considered reaping because it's over the different leg?
So DOA isn't considered reaping. Yes, if I am understanding your question correctly. So if he comes in here, because my inside leg is coming over the top, if that's what you mean by it's going over a different leg, then yes, you're correct. It needs to be an external pressure coming in. All right. So the reason is, or the fear is, people are doing damages to their ACL. So if I stood up, you see this all the time in sports. If someone makes a bad cut and this knee buckles in, that's when we get a lot of damage on the inside of the knee. We can go out a lot better. It's a lot safer. I can turn my hip out. So if I'm in DOA, I just bend it there versus bending it here. I still have strain on my knee. So DOA is not reaping because there's not an external pressure going in on the knee. Cool.
Right now, do you have anything specific that you wanted to talk about? I can continue on all day, but
No, I'm good. I think those are definitely the basics, the basic positions I get an understanding with. And actually, just this one piece is like leg locks are kind of like we often joke about the dark side of jujitsu. A lot depending on where you train, it may be considered a dirty game. Throughout jiu-jitsu history, it was always considered like dishonorable or dirty to attack the legs, or attack heel hooks specifically. I think knee bars were like thumbs up there, but you don't touch my ankles. So there's a stigma behind leg locks, and I would say to get away from that as fast as you can, as far as how you perceive jiu-jitsu, because the earlier you're at least comfortable with leg locks, the better off you'll be down the road. And that's why, like with the question of like, I started day one with understanding what leg locks were. I think it helped me out down the line because by the time I entered the divisions that leg locks were legal, I was I wasn't behind the game. Because there's gonna be some kid at a 10th Planet school that is drilling leg locks from day one, and to be lost and not know what's going on in leg locks is extremely scary. Because there is potential for a lot of damage, and severe damage, like nobody ever wants to blow out their knee, in any sport. Being lost in that world is really intimidating. So the earlier you can just get comfortable of like when I'm in danger, when I'm safe, how do I escape this? You're gonna you're gonna excel a lot faster. So maybe one day you'll be that person that is extremely good at leg locks and you go against someone who's completely lost. An example I have of that is one of my purple belt competitions. It was in the advanced division, so leg locks were legal. We were going up, a black belt was in our division, was going against another purple belt, and I entered into 411 or honey hole. And I was tying up the guy's legs, and he started talking to himself, saying like, "We don't train this. I don't know what's going on here." And I felt really bad because I'm like, like that stinks, dude. But like, I want to win. Yeah, like I want to win this match. I'm sorry. But as a coach now, like I would never want my student to be in a position where they're like, dude, we have never touched that when it's a legal thing to do. But you have to start that earlier. So when you walk in day one as a purple belt to your first competition, that's not the first time you're being exposed to leg locks.
Cool. Guys, we don't have that much more time, so if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat or pop your hand up and we'll call on you. If not, I got a couple more quick questions to ask Brendan, and we can let you guys get on with your night as well. But yeah, so go ahead with that. But I would say one of my final questions for you, Brendan, is like when you are playing guard, like we were talking about the drill where you just stand in ashi and go to that position, but realistically, if I'm going against you and I'm standing and you're seated, how are you actually going to get to this position?
Yeah, so that's a good question, and I can show a quick entry. It's gonna feel really weird at first. This took me years to understand, even though once you understand it, it's super simple. I'm gonna make the same action as I would for my butterfly sweeps, which is like once I put that together, I was like, oh, all right, easy. But so I always want to get some sort of wrist control. Like I want to hand fight. I never want to reach. I never want to overextend myself. But so I want to get some form of wrist control, right? We're gonna be hand fighting here. And then I'm gonna butt scoot in and I'm gonna get a shin to shin connection. Right, and I say shin to shin, but it's more ankle to ankle. And I want to be elbow deep on the backside of his knee. A key thing that we need to remember that most people forget is this free hand. I always want to have a third point of contact, and ideally, I'm going to catch this far wrist. All right. If I don't do this, both his hands are free to start attacking my neck. All right, and start punching chokes. He can start cutting, or he can do like a rolling kimura on this side. That's my go-to. Someone goes shin to shin on me, and they're being lazy with that top hand. They just go rolling kimura and take that. Okay, so to prevent that, I always want to have that third point of contact. So again, we're hand fighting. I can be in here. So I'm going to butt scoot in. I get elbow deep. I catch this free hand. And now I want to fall laterally. The difference between falling sideways and falling backwards is going to be make or break this technique. So when I fall, I'm falling to my shoulder and I'm flaring this foot that I have in the shin to shin connection out. And we'll change the angles so we'll be able to see it. I'm flaring this foot out and I go from an elbow deep grip to catching it with my wrist. I push my shin through, and I chin up into ashi. All right. So And the more advanced we get with this, I can take that to an outside heel hook, especially if he has his hands planted. But getting back to a double outside ashi entry, this is one of my go-to entries to the double outside ashi, because as he stands up, which I'll show, I'm gonna kick that foot over and I'm gonna sweep him right away. Let's sweep this way a bit. So shin to shin connection, scrap this way. Actually, we're gonna switch sides. So shin to shin connection, all right, and this bottom foot is either X or it's through. All right, I tend to always have it crossed like this, because I always want to control this inside position. A lot of people beginning start like this. This is just opening a path for knee cuts, and I don't like that. Even if he were to attack legs and I'm seated, he can enter in on my legs if I'm here. If I'm here, I'm cutting I'm cutting off the access to the inside position, which just like when we're wrestling, leg locks, we always want to have inside position or a dominant position. Yes, there are times where that will differ, but that's going to differ in specific scenarios in specific positions. But the key thing to start with is controlling this inside position. So controlling this inside position, I butt scoot in, I'm ankle to ankle, shin to shin, catch this far arm. I'm flexing, dorsal flexing this bottom, the foot that's connected. So I'm doing that same, putting the boot on, and I'm falling sideways so I can kick this out. Pulling this foot through, kicking up into ashi. And if he, ideally I have his hands to the mat, and because of what we were just going slow, but as he stands up, I pull that foot out and I kick through my DOA. You can do a traditional ashi sweep. I just like my double outside ashi position. So both are completely viable.
But the idea is you're using the momentum of me regaining my balance to just take me all the way down.
I'm gonna take him where he wants to go. He gets to pick his poison, is the idea. So one more time though. I butt scoot in, I go shin to shin, I catch this by wrist, and you can see, this is a good angle that you can see I'm falling sideways when I'm doing this. If I fall straight back, I'm not gonna be able to lift this. Okay, so I'm falling sideways, taking away his base, flaring all the way through, taking up into my ashi position. All right, and you can see here, if I wanted to just do my regular ashi sweep, there my hips out, or my knees out, and I drive my hips through. So yeah, that's my go-to entry into the standing ashi position. So when I'm on the ground and my partner or opponent is standing up, I'm going to enter into this ashi position. You also can do one more if you guys don't mind. If I can catch a 2-on-1 position with my grips, either we're gonna be hand fighting. I'm gonna gather this in different ways. So even if he puts his hand on my head, all right, I need to peel it off and up. So we call it like burrito grip. Even if whether I'm baseball bat grip or burrito grip, the action's still gonna be the same. I'm gonna pull him over me while I butt scoot in or over. I climb into ashi right there. And then my sweeps are the exact same. Once you get comfortable with this, if I were to just throw him, oh, you're good there. And create a lot of force that he just tries to run over me, I can chase it out the backside. But that's gonna come with time. Getting comfortable with knowing that leg is there, and then having that muscle memory to be able to weave your legs how you need to for the ashi position. You're just adding a back roll into it. It looks fancier than it is. But I've gotten into that scenario quite a few times because when you do that grip and you shuck someone, they see a path out, they're just gonna keep running. So I can chase it though, and I can come out on the backside with that same entanglement.
Awesome, man. Dude, that was a lot. Guys, I think we're gonna call it for today. There's gonna be a lot more of these. We're currently keeping it at 8 p.m. on Thursdays Eastern time right now, but you can get into the group, and if there is like a really strong need for a different time, we'll look into that. But right now, we're trying to build this up at this time frame, and I'm just gonna keep putting them out for you. Keep coming on and asking your questions, and yeah, this again is just an outlet for you to come on and ask questions and develop your game. Because a lot of times you don't get the opportunity to just ask your coach like what you need. And honestly, it's just another take from someone that doesn't really know you. And we're happy to just help you. Okay, so Brendan, I appreciate you coming on, and yeah, looking forward to training with you more. And we'll have Brendan on again for sure if he wants to be on. And yeah, so look out for us, guys. Nicole, you got one last question?
Yeah, would you mind showing when you were defending the Ashi when he was coming into it, you kind of like rolled and went into the Kimura?
On that shin to shin connection,
Do you remember what I'm talking about, Adam?
Yeah,
You like you rolled. Can you show that again?
sure. It was right, yeah, it was it's yeah, he's going for it, and his whole idea was that if he's not grabbing the hold of this hand, he's giving me a green light to attack his arm. So all I'm literally doing is just going over the top of his arm and rolling over my same side shoulder. And now, like, there's a lot of different things. This is a whole game in itself that we can talk about maybe on another call. But a lot of times, what I'm going to be doing is looking to tuck this bottom knee underneath him. Take the bat. Okay. So bring that question on another call, and we can really detail that. But it is a cool move.
Okay, because I do a lot of rolls and flips. I'm kind of a little acrobat, and so I was like, oh, I like it.
Okay, you probably
Okay.
cartwheel passing, right? Yeah.
Thank
So, if you wanna look up like rolling Kimuras, that's just a quick, YouTube search. That's all it is. We're just doing it from this, shin to shin connection. Craig Jones has an instructional out there on reattacks and from leg locks, and he discusses that. That's where I found it, or it might have been. I'll get back to it. It might be Gary Conan's instructional reattacks. But you can find rolling Kimuras in dang near any position. So if that's something that interests you, it is Gary Conan's. Gary Conan's reattacking, and it's escape the system and reattacking. That's his instructional out there that talks about rolling Kimuras and then a lot of escapes and then reattacking right away.
Okay, thank you.
Of course, welcome. Cool, guys. Well, we're gonna end it. Brendan, thank you very much again for coming on. Very much appreciate it. Guys, see you next week. We're gonna end this.
Thanks, everybody.
Yep.